everyone, it's Diabetic Danica and welcome back to my channel. Today I just wanted to sit back, chat with you guys about something that I've been thinking about. My mom and I were actually talking about this the other day when she was visiting for Mother's Day weekend. And it's the idea of just like A1C levels in general and being measured by a number. So A1C, of course, is that 3-month average of blood sugar, and it's in a percentage. Ideally, the goal for most people is to get that number under 7%. And my last A1C, last couple actually, have not been what I want them to be. And I was disappointed, and I felt like I was still putting in as much work as I was before, and I just didn't really understand. But I really buckled down and focused on my numbers, adjusted a lot of doses, and got my A1C to come down a lot. But you hear that phrase a lot, and it's so subjective, right? A lot could be from 14% to 6%. It could be from 8% to 7.4%. Like, it's totally subjective. And when my mom was talking to me, she was like, oh, we're gonna make a video about what you got your A1C down to and what it's at. And when I was thinking about it and talking to her, I was kind of like, I just don't think giving out the specific numbers is very helpful to anyone. Because what I consider a bad A1C for me, not bad, but just like not what I want, could be someone else's great A1C. Like, let's say I got a 9.5 A1C and I was just like heartbroken, I was gutted about it, I was really upset with myself, let's say. This is all hypothetical. But someone else who has been at a 13% A1C for years finally gets down to 9.5 and they're thrilled. Like, I just think that there's so much variety and context that goes into the A1C level that giving out exact numbers can make other people feel bad. Like, if I'm all talking down about my 9.5 A1C and someone else finally got it to 9.5 after years of hard work, they might feel kind of minimized and bad about what for them has been a great improvement in A1C. And I guess on the flip side of that too, like if I got a 7.5 A1C and I was really excited about that, someone else who has been 6.8 might be like, why is she so stoked about a 7.5? Like, I've been 6.8 and that's high for me, or something like that. I don't know. And I just think A1C can be kind of a sensitive topic for a lot of diabetics. Even though it's not supposed to be a judgment, it can really feel like a judgment because it's a reflection of how your blood sugars, or it's supposed to be a reflection of how your blood sugars have been over the past 3 months. And so it can feel a lot like a grade. And if you didn't get the grade that you wanted or that you were shooting for, it can be really disappointing and you can feel kind of bad. So that's why I just think it's not a great idea for me to share my exact numbers for A1C. I will say though, my last appointment, I lowered my A1C to me a lot, and I was really, really happy that I was able to do that. Another thing to consider is that A1C is not always a great picture of how your diabetes management is going. It's an average, right? So you could have a bunch of really high blood sugars and a bunch of really low ones, and then the average would still look pretty good. Alternatively, you could have a super low A1C, you feel like you're in great control, wow, what a great A1C, but the reality is you're having low blood sugars all the time, which is also not good for you, and therefore your A1C is not quote unquote good because you're having too many lows. So I think a better indicator of your blood sugar management is your time in range. So if you're using a continuous glucose monitor, you can see your time in range and how often you're within your target range. I also want to share something that I recently learned that was new for me. So I always assumed that the goal for A1C was less than 7 because that is somewhat attainable. I think it's still really hard to get there, but it's somewhat attainable. It's a measurement where you'll minimize complications, but I always figured the lower and lower you got your A1C to normal, the less your risk of complications would be. Like, that just made sense to me logically. So normally an A1C should be between 4 and 5.6%, which, unless you're having a lot of low blood sugars, as a diabetic, it is, I don't want to say impossible to get there, but very challenging to get there without having a bunch of low blood sugars, which obviously you don't want to have a bunch of low blood sugars. So I always just figured, even if you had a 7% A1C, it would be better if you got like a 5.6, as long as you weren't having lows. But I recently went to a talk by an endocrinologist, a pediatric endocrinologist, and he showed us a graph of your risk of complications with all the different types, not all the different types, there's like 4 different types of complications. and your A1C level. And of course, the higher your A1C got, the higher the risk of complications got. But once you were at 7, basically the relative risk of everything from 7 and below was pretty much nearly 0. So like obviously it can't be exactly 0, but it was pretty much the same risk. So he was kind of joking about how people on Instagram will brag about their 5.6 A1C or their 6.2 A1C, when really a 6.9 and a 5.6 have about the same relative risk of complications. It's not any better really to have an A1C in the 5s, especially obviously if you're having lows. So that was really cool to me that a 6.8, a 6.9, you're gonna have pretty much the same effects as if you were down in the 5s. And obviously, A1C is really specific to you as well. So your doctor might have a different A1C target for you because of your risk of lows or because of your history of, let's say, passing out with lows or something like that. And I just hope that we're able to celebrate improvements, whether we're below a 7% A1C or not, that we can celebrate when we have improved our A1C or improved our time in range even better, because then we're moving in the right direction and putting the work in. So anyway, this video was really long, so I'm gonna go now, but that's kind of what I've been thinking about when it comes to A1C level. If you want to, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you really did like it, and subscribe. I make new videos about diabetes all the time, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.